promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
As far as I know, it's never been done.
An abandoned leaking oil well is creating challenges for crews trying to plug it. The fact that it's located in the middle of a residential neighborhood, well, that's only part of the problem. Plus,
it goes right back onto the grid. They will market that as green electricity.
One man's trash is another man's treasure, as the old saying goes. Now, one West Virginia landfill is poised to start producing power from garbage. Hello everybody, and welcome to a new season of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson.
And I'm Kelly Gillenwater. Finding out you have oil under your property is usually a good thing.
But finding it coming up through your floor, well, not so much. That's the problem in one Wheeling neighborhood where residents of an apartment building were forced out of their homes.
The DEP's Jake Glantz joins us now with the latest.
Well, Kelly and Greg, it actually started when area residents noticed an oily sheen on the surface of Stackyard Run, which is a tributary of Wheeling Creek that leads to the Ohio River. But that was just the start of the problem.
Caution tape aside, from the outside it looks like an ordinary apartment building, but on the inside, well, come on in, take a look for yourself.
It's the same principle as any drilling operation, but it's smaller scale, just miniature rig. Very challenging. Everything from thinking out the design, how the rig would have to be set up to operate, how we had, basically manufacture everything.
That's right, that's a drilling rig, just like the big ones on drill sites across the state, only this one is much, much smaller.
The landowner said, I'll try to accommodate you any way I can. We said, well, we're going to have height to be able to do this. And he said he'd cut a hole in the floor. We built it off site. He cut a 52 by 52 inch hole in the floor, and we carried the rig in and erected it inside the actual apartment building.
The rig is built out of 6-inch steel I-beams with a 30-ton winch and a hydraulic unit for power. Contractors will use a bit like this one, along with steel and fluid to clean out the wellbore and then seal it with concrete from bottom to top. Erecting the rig was only half the problem. First, inspectors had to locate the source of the oil.
There have been numerous complaints about the smell and the oil sheen going down the stream. The landowner actually called in a complaint that he had oil in his apartment, and you could see it in the outline of the grout on the tiles, which worked really give us a good hint to where it was actually coming up at. But it was really hard to find to start with.
As for the well itself, it appears to have been drilled between 1908 and 1910 and plugged to state standards in April of 1949. The technology of oil and gas operations has changed quite a bit over the last half century, and current standards for plugging a well are much different. As for the apartment building itself,
it was built in 1964, and it was actually mentioned in the city in the building permit that there was a well there. But at that time, nobody saw an issue with it. And that was just back when things was a little different.
The DEP's abandoned well plugging and reclamation program typically tackles 8 to 15 leaking abandoned wells every year. The process of drilling out the old well has started. Crews have also placed booms and absorbent material to catch the oil leaking into the water, and the EPA has set up monitoring equipment at the site. The project is expected to take about a month to complete. For Environment Matters, I'm Jake Glantz.
Thanks, Jake. The U.S. EPA is providing $165,000 in funding for the project. Residents of the Wetzel County community of Pine Grove were under a temporary do not use water order for several days in February.
That's because of a chemical leak at the Mark West facility in Smithfield. An estimated 260 gallons of the chemical Downtherm MX heat transfer fluid leaked from a pipe. An unknown quantity leaked into a small tributary of Fishing Creek. Soon after the leak was discovered, absorbent booms were placed in the creek to catch and soak up the chemical. Some of the chemical made it into the intake portion of the Pine Grove water plant, but none was detected on the distribution side. Bottled water was trucked in for area residents. About 360 homes were affected. An investigation into what caused the leak is ongoing.
The removal of contaminated soil from the former Freedom Industries site is now complete.
Contractors are now working to install a clay cap over the affected area. Roughly 10,000 tons of soil containing traces of chemicals MCHM and PPH were removed from the site of the 2014 chemical leak that contaminated the water supply for 300,000 area residents. Soil removal began in December. The contaminated soil was replaced with clean fill material. Groundwater monitoring at the site continues while crews work. The project is expected to be completed later this year. When finished, the site will be able to be reused as an industrial area. Coming up, a new pilot program to help folks dispose of their unwanted used tires.
And it may be a landfill now, but in the not too distant future, it could provide enough electricity to supply a small town. Those stories and more when Environment Matters continues.